तत्परम्पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयात्।
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to another conversation of the Songs of the Heart, heart-to-heart conversations with the mentors of the Rishiculture Gitananda Yoga tradition. I'm so happy and so honored to welcome our beautiful Yogashakti Yogachemmal Yogacharini Jnânasundarî of France. Namaste.
Namaste.
So happy to see you here, and so happy that you agreed to have a conversation on the practices of Nada Yoga of the tradition of Swami Gitananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki. So much to share about your dedication and the many, many years of practice, study, and service to the Parampara on so many levels. You are a student, of course, you are a teacher, you're an artist, you're a writer, you are inspiring many with your work and with your life example. I know you're a very humble person, so I'm not going to go on and on and on and on and on with this. So let's begin then. And I would like to ask you, when was it that you first encountered in your life this parampara of Swami Gitananda Giri? When did you first hear about it? When did you first practice it? Would you like to share some of that with us, please, Jnânasundarî?
Thank you. I'd been studying yoga for about, 15 years, and I hadn't found a teacher because this was back in the dawn of time, in the 60s and 70s, and it was hard to find a teacher. And finally, I came across a teacher when I was in England. I'd just come back from India where we'd been living. And I came across a teacher who was a really lovely lady called Lakshmi Waters. And she started doing the yoga step by step pretty much just after when I arrived in her class. And I thought, wow, this is different. I love this stuff. And after a little while, she suddenly suggested that I do it too. And I thought, yeah, okay. Because it just seemed so different from what I'd been reading in all the books that I'd had to bear with, because when you can't find a teacher, you're stuck with books. Books are great, they're great, but they can't tell you when you're doing something wrong, and they can't tell you, they can only tell you what they can get on the page, basically. And I've written books, and I know that's pretty hard to put certain things on the page. You're restricted by space and by the editors. So when I came across Lakshmi, and she was giving this stuff out in class, I thought, wow. And when she invited me to do the course, I was straight on it. And I did it. I was really, really lucky because I actually did it with Swamiji himself. And this was in the days of, snail mail. You'd spend your week working on your class. You'd write out all the answers and you'd post them off. And maybe 10 days, 2 weeks later, you'd get the reply.
From Swamiji?
From Swamiji, typed out by Amaji. It was great. And sometimes I would ask him questions, and sometimes he'd answer the question that I asked. But what really blew me away was sometimes I would ask a question, the letter would go off. I'd think about the question, and the answer would come to me. But of course, once you've answered a question, that quite often sets off a whole bunch of other questions. So when the letter came back and he was busy answering the question that I'd thought of afterwards, that used to just, it blew my mind that because he did that. I can't really explain how he did it. So when people say, he could tell what you're thinking, it's true. Even though he did say, I don't read people's minds. Who wants to read what did he say? Porn or something like that. Or no dirty books. I don't know. He was rude about reading people's minds, but I enjoyed that. But he did. He knew what we were. He knew where I was, even though I was several thousand miles away.
And did you then travel to the ashram and were able to meet Swamiji?
He was telling me all the time, you must come to the ashram. And I'm going, well, you know, I've got 3 small children and a sick husband. I can't do it. And he said, no worries, come when you can. And I finally did, but it was, you know, 9 years after he died. But that's okay. I remember saying to Amaji, you must miss his presence. And she said, no, he's still here. And I thought, yes, so he is. That was great. I've been back. I've been to the ashram a lot of times as a student and more recently as a teacher. And it's been such an amazing adventure. It's always an adventure. It's never the same twice in a row. And it's great. I've got millions of happy memories of the ashram. I couldn't possibly, you know, could never write a book about that. Nobody'd believe me.
Please do that. On the topic of Nada Yoga, then.
Okay.
What are because of these memories, they're so precious. I would really love for us to, all of us who are listening to you now, to hear some of them. What are some of your memories that relate to?
I can't hear you.
Oh,
I think your line is a bit feeble. I missed that. Can you repeat it, please?
Yes, I'm sorry.
You might have to edit that out.
No, I won't. That's okay. Yeah. What are some of the memories of the ashram that revolve around sound that you could share with us?
Yeah, that's a huge topic too.
Yes.
One of the reasons that I'm not so much a talker as a writer is I've always had quite a rough voice. And as a child, I applied to join a choir and they wouldn't let me. And after that, I just shut up. And I was never heard to sing in public until I went to the ashram. And somehow you can't get away with it there. You cannot be quiet. You're not allowed. It's not permitted to not sing. But I had one occur. Yeah. And people going, you know, it's your turn to start, and I'm going, oh no. But I was obliged to do so, and I'm so grateful. It's just it really unblocked me. So and I actually managed to sing not just in public but on my own not long ago when I sang for Amaji, and that afterwards I thought, wow, was that me? And it's thanks to the ashram and basically Amaji, really. She can get you to do things you do not expect to do in your lifetime, but always for your own good, I have to say. I've never regretted anything that Amaji has kind of obliged me to do. I've realized I'm just a chicken, really, that without being pushed. You know, for a one, I'm not a very good one, you know, yantrically. I need pushing sometimes. So yes, the sounds, because I can, you know, I've got good tone and everything, and I can hear when other people are off key. So, and sound has always been important to me, you know, because I've loved languages all my life. So as a child, I was thinking, oh, what's that sound in that, you know, that language? And that's always fascinated me. So when I got to the ashram and I was surrounded by, the first time I think there were quite a lot of people from different countries. And I instigated the habit of wishing everybody good appetite at the dinner table in their own language, you know. You remember that?
Yes. Yes.
And I used to ask people how to do the countdown so that I could count in their languages. And sound is just really, it's everybody likes sound, don't they? I mean, you have to get by in the world. It must be terrible to be deaf. So when people were singing, I was thinking, yeah, it sounds nice. I wish I could sing like that. But then it hit me, you know, and I'm ashamed to say I was quite old when it struck me. It doesn't matter. It's the feeling that counts, not how pure the sound is. So, yeah.
Is this something, thank you so much. Is this something that you also share with your students, perhaps in France or in Europe, right? When they approach such a vast science and art of mantra, and perhaps, you know, even starting practicing the pranava pranayama, the pranava om. Is this something that you are able to, not that you're able to, but that you convey to them, right? This feeling of the bhava, right? Of the feeling of the mantra, the feeling of the vibration of the om, for example. You and I have shared that you practice the om quite a bit, right? In your sadhana.
Yes, yes, we do. And I suppose I do step in Dharmaji's shoes in that sense, that I do get people to chant, and we always start class with chanting Om because it sets the tone, I think, for the whole séance. I use the word séance in the French sense, not the
yes,
yes, and people like me. I mean, I started off very reluctant to make a noise, but they all end up doing it. I'm always impressed. It doesn't take very long for people to let go and let themselves feel those vibrations. The omas in the particular, that is one in particular that people find much easier to relate to than, say, if I propose bhajans. But I like to do bhajans, but I don't do them everywhere. I do them on retreats and things. I teach people, and they do like that. There'll always be somebody who looks embarrassed. You can't hear them, you know. They'll sit on the back for a start.
Do you think it's a matter of cultural understanding that they may not be able to understand
it may
for
be.
the bhajans, I mean, right? Because they revolve around specific divinities, and you think that.
Well, you'd think so. You would think so, but I don't think it's that, because I think it's the sounds that they relate to rather than meanings. I mean, I always explain the meanings, but and it doesn't seem to faze people. But I think, as I only teach them on retreats, people that go to the retreats are ready for it. But even if they don't really relate to the Sanskrit or the Hindi, because quite a lot of the bhajans are in Hindi, it doesn't seem to trouble them because they're listening to the sounds and the feeling. Yeah, it's definitely the bhava that gets most people through the bhajans, I think. Whereas, you know, I didn't start like that, because actually I came to yoga through philosophy, Indian philosophy and Tibetan philosophy, and I was really interested in the sounds of those languages, and I wanted to know the meanings, because for me the meaning is intrinsic. You have to have the meaning. I was, you know, as a small child, I heard words and thought, that's a nice word. I like that. I wonder what it means. I remember being particularly in love with certain words like Brahmaputra. Somebody said, I said, what's strange? What's that river called? Brahmaputra. What a beautiful word. I do. I fall in love with words occasionally. I am that mad. Just the sound gets you. And when I found out what it meant, I was really so happy. I thought, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I have one more question for you. And this question is about the power of sound practices and the effect that they have on your life and also because you are a very long-standing teacher, like you've done it for many, many years with lots of intensity. If you've seen the breakthroughs of yourself, of course, and your students using sound, whether it's through pranayamas again or the pranava, if you have a story, on how these practices work therapeutically, even if we're not working in a hospital or if we are doctors, but just to be able to witness the transformation that occurs in people when they engage with these practices. Do you have a story you would like to share with us about that?
Oh, I've got so many. I think possibly, when we chant at the end of class, Loka Samasta, when the first lockdown happened early last year, I was getting people to, just before it happened, well, when the pandemic started, before the lockdown, I said to my students, we're going to chant this every time. And I explained it. And at first they were a bit funny about it, but suddenly it clicked with them. And they all sing it now with such energy and feeling. It's beautiful. As soon as I said, we want to be sending out hoping that that not just our world, but all worlds, not just human beings, but all beings. And I don't know, it must have been it might have been just the feeling that the pandemic was possibly a threat to us all. But people really, really picked up on that. And although sometimes we'd been chanting it before, I could tell it was just a thing for them. But now it really means something to them. And they chant it. They chant it with real feeling, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I try to slow it down because it's that beautiful, and they all do it, all the classes, and that means such a lot. I think the words mean things to them. They're not just sounds. But the sounds also really reach them, and that moved me a lot. It still does every time.
Would you like to chant it for us as a closing of this conversation? I hadn't prepared you for this, so put you quite on the spot here.
Okay. Yes. Well, before closing down, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you. Of course. Thank you so much, dear.
And I'm really looking forward to this. Looking forward to this course because I just love sounds, and I'm always looking to understand it all better. Now, okay. Thank you. So much. You're going to chant with me?
I am not. Well, I am, but I'm going to mute myself because otherwise the Zoom feedback loop will create a very crazy thing. So I'm going to mute myself and chant with you. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu sarve janaha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti 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 Om.
Marvelous. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. So thank everybody for listening and sharing. And thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jnânasundarî, and we'll see you all very soon. Bacio.
Bye,
Ciao. Ciao.
Loka samasta sukhinu bhavantu sarve janaha sukhinu bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti